Hello, how's it going? Welcome back to Brad's Workbench. I'm just now getting set up for my camera slider. I have a motor in front of me. I have my little turntable. I put a little piece of tape so I can track, when to stop and stuff like that. Tape on here to show that it's moving. Let me see if I can get this to angle. Oh. There we go. So, my camera slider, this is the programming cord, but it all runs on a 12-volt line. And it powers the Arduino too. But the interesting thing that I did was I modified my motor. This thing is a 28BYJ48, and it's a uni-bipolar motor. And what I mean by that is it's a unipolar system with two poles, which means it has a common ground that is or a common hot that allows both of them to be pulsed 4 times instead of 2. But that can do some weird stuff with trying to program steps and get it to be precise every single time with speed and a lot of different stuff like that. So let's show you how I control it first. This red wire doesn't connect to anything. It's just, that's the one wire you don't need anymore. And let me show you what I mean. So this thing right here is a 4-pin connector, as you see. But the connector really for this motor is a 5-wire, so we have to convert it down to a 4. So we cut into, I'll break it apart after. Well, what I'm going to do at the very end is I'm going to transfer the motor into this thing. This is not being converted, this motor in here. So this is going to be the head that I'm going to use for my camera slider, not this. So I recently did a video about swapping the motor driver out with the motor that was already in there, which is that guy. So I went ahead and created the whole thing to do it. So I got the motor driver working with this motor, but the thing is I didn't like how it interacted with the CNC controller. Since it was a single pole, you have to do a lot of work. But this is still a 5-wire panoramic head. So all the 5 wires are still in there. I have to transfer. I'm gonna, instead of breaking another motor, taking it apart, I'll just show you what's inside of this one while I transfer it into there. So alright, so what I wanted to show you was software. Let's go to this guy. So the CNC board that I'm using uses GRBL. So we don't have to do any programming to the CNC controller board with the Uno. What we're really focused on is this ESP controller that controls the controller. So that way we can control it from our phones. So in order to control it from our phones, I have to do some coding, which brings me up an interface and a web connection. I'm already connected, so let's look at this code real quick. So I just coded in just bridge the serial 2 to serial 1 and to the web serial part. But this is the username and password is where you set it all up. It's perfectly fine to leave it as the default. You can change it to different numbers if you want. Just don't forget the password after you flash, and if you change it. But we're not going to really go into this part. I've already flashed it with this. This is we don't have to change the main. But what I normally change in order to do all the front end stuff is where all the changes really are that control all the different kind of code of what to send. So I did all the basic functions in here that communicate with the CNC controller, and it's already on the compiled into the page. So in order to compile the page, I had to install Node.js. I navigated to the web serial UI folder. I did npm install. After I did that, it loaded in all the software I needed to build the UI. And surprisingly enough, you don't have to really do anything besides do this, then build. So it does all its fancy stuff. It takes the page that I coded up or modified. I modified that page. It's already existed from the web serial library. But it compiles the page into this UI dist folder and then web page Zopfill. So I just copied this and I paste it into the web page header file, and I save it. Then I plug in the cable here. And this allows me to flash it. This is only really necessary for flashing. Platform IO allows me to flash down here, so I'll just click on upload. So it's programming the ESP32 board that I have that controls the CNC controller. So after I get all this stuff flashed, I can migrate to the web page. The connection, after you connect to your ESP32, we'll see here under settings. So we have the default route, which is where we're going to head to. It gives you your computer an IP address as well, which is in a range of somewhere of this to 254 maybe. I don't know, I haven't tested that out, see how many I can connect to this. But what we want is that default route. After we get the default route, we can go over to the web serial web page, and then we can type that in, but we have to type in /web serial to get to the actual page that we need to get to. So it brings up my camera slider page, which is the page that I was showing you over here. And I included some basic stuff. So feed rate is basically the speed of the whole process. My camera slider that I'm building is going to have two motors. It's going to have the yaw, which, you know, will look left and right. And then we have the x-axis, which moves it from left to right physically. So we can turn the camera left to right, and we can move the camera left to right within 1 meter. 1 meter is 1,000 millimeters, so we'll be able to control it by the millimeter right here. So if we want to go halfway on the camera slider, we just set it to 500. Then we have the rotate, which is that look left or right where it rotates the camera. We can say we want it to look from 0, starting at 0. If we get everything looking at the starting point, what I need to do is up this to 180. Actually, it says 360. I need to up it to a negative value, so that way the camera slider starts at 0. And then, you know, this is still things I'm still working on developing this slider, but let's see what we can do with it right now. So I have cancel, abort, relative positioning, and absolute positioning. So the difference between those two is we can hit start, 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 and for example, if we just wanted to rotate just this to do a panoramic rotation without the slider, we could do it with this too. So we'll be able to send small rotations to this without a slider if we wanted to, you know, have it do that. I need coffee. So down here is the actual serial interface. Before these sliders and stuff right here, I was just using this. And this is actually where you would go to configure parameters inside of the CNC controller. So for the parameters that I had to adjust in order to precisely get it to where those numbers up top here actually mean a meter, is they have this thing called steps per millimeter. So if you have 16 steps to make 1 millimeter, then that's what you would do. But since we have pulleys and stuff like that, we need to account for that. So it's going to be more steps for a millimeter. That's how we can get it to be precise. And my configuration values so far are for the two motors. For X and Y would be 130 for my slide rail. So every millimeter takes 130 steps. Every millimeter takes 130 steps. So it's like 130,000 steps, or 13,000 steps for the full distance. So, and then I have my rotator. So my Lazy Susan rotator right now is at 744 with the given pulley size and belt size and other variables at play. 774 is what I got. Get this thing to be a full 360 and stop exactly in the same spot. So enough talking about it. Let's give it a shot. Let me modify my view here real quick. I'm going to duplicate it. Wrong. That's okay. Alright, this is the one. I don't want to mess it up completely. Alright, so will this work? Alright, this will work. Let me just make this bigger. Alright, so it looks right. So I have here, I'm gonna set the distance. Oh, I can't move it here. Alright, so I'm gonna set the distance to 0 and 0, and I'm gonna set the speed rate really high. Click on start. Let's see what it's sending. Alright, so this is what it sent. Now, let's get it to rotate this thing a full circle. Start. Alright, perfect. So now that that's at a full circle, let's tell the axis to go 500 and start slider. So it moves in tandem, which means we can get this thing to do exactly the same thing at a certain speed at the same time and in sync. If this was calculated properly to be a circle just like this, they would both be exactly at whatever rotation point. But for example, let's take it down to 500. And for example, this is the major problem that I see that people won't comprehend quickly enough, is the feed rate is your speed, and then you have a distance. So if you say a speed rate of 2,000 and you only go 100, it's gonna go, I think, really fast. Oh no, don't do it. I did it wrong. Yeah. So let's not use the number pad. So if it's 100, let's not rotate this guy. So that's pretty quick, but if we go to 1,000, it goes the same speed, right? I should have went to 500. Alright, so So the speed in this will be in sync. So it still runs, this one basically runs at the feed rate of this. But that's because I have the feed rates the same, the max feed rate. So if the max feed rate on this one is actually 2000 and this one is 5000, it's actually only gonna go, let's say this one is 500 and this one is 2000. It's only gonna top out. It's gonna change it for you, and it will do this instead. And you'll be like, why is this thing acting different? Well, in my settings, alright, so it's gonna take twice as long. And let's see how my subscribers are doing. I still have 13. Just go to Facebook and post this live stream somewhere. It's nice if you had 1 Bitcoin, you'd be making $100 every few minutes. Well, that's not right. Let's see if I can find the actual video link. Alright, there's one post. So let's go back to this. So I'm having a lot of fun just even programming this. Keep wanting to click on the preview screen and it moves shit. There we go. Alright, so back to this. So I don't have the home slider working. It doesn't do any homing. So for now, I'll show you what I mean by how I can modify this. So everything's connected. Where's my home slider? Here we go. I'll just delete this guy. He doesn't need to be in there. I'll save it. build the UI. Copy the FOP fill into the header and then upload. That's really all it takes. Alright, so it's uploaded. The Wi-Fi was disconnected. It reconnected. But still. Alright, so I just refreshed. And that home button is now gone. Alright, so my next task that I was going to do was take this motor off and put it in here. So let me do that. Cool. So, nope, wrong one. I want to show you what's inside of this motor, because I modified this motor. This guy will help show you what I mean. Alright, got my little camera there for you. Alright. Alright. Take it off this. So I marked it so I would know that I did work on this one. I need to bring this bigger. So let me pop this off. It's really not fun to take this plastic cover off because I broke it the first time. So as you see here, I literally get it to focus, cut that right out. So I scratched so I just took my little razor blade wherever I took it, wherever I put it, there it is, and I just found that middle contact and I just kept on scratching. Fingernailed it a little bit just so I can remove. And then once I verified that that copper line was no longer, or whatever, yeah, it's copper. That copper line is no longer touching that middle prong. If these two prongs aren't connected anymore, you can get rid of this red wire, because that's your common wire, common hot. And then after you do that, figure out how to put this thing back on. And my next thing would be to take off this pulley. I had tape on it. Now I gotta clean it off. Stick my other motor back onto this. I'll stick this guy back on too. Alright, he's free. Now let's get this guy. Oh, I know. Let's see if I can do it like this. That's good. This is like a $25, $30 panoramic head for a tripod. Get it on Amazon somewhere. It was really tricky getting this thing in here. It didn't really want to cooperate at first. But as soon as I got it all together, it was pretty good. What I mean by that is this thing in here. It's just weird. Mute button. So one of the problems that I've came across while putting this in here is that the wires come very close. Need to brighten that camera up. But the wires are really close to the screw hole. So I just got to be careful sticking it back in. Along with how to position this guy through the other side. Okay. Feels pretty compressed. Doesn't feel like there's anything caught like a wire. I'm going to do this front one first. And then the other two. Alright, back to this guy. Alright, and it booted up. It auto refreshed. Oh, I don't have this thing connected. Why is it doing that? Oh. I was configuring the home, trying to configure the home, but it didn't work like that. Let's go reset this again. Alright, it's not locked. Oh, it already thinks we're at 360. So relative positioning, start slider. There we go. But that needs to be adjusted, because that, let's go over here to distance 0. We'll do a 360, and what I mean by that needs to be adjusted is we'll start this perfectly down. 360 should be one complete circle, so we'll start slider. So I'm basically going to tune this right in front of you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we're 4 over. We'll go down here, say ask it what it is. 174. We'll just divide that number by 4. 193. I think I've already configured it, or found out. I think it's 182. So I'm just going to go ahead and set that S101 equal 182. So money sign 101 basically is what it equals now, but if I tell it to equal something else, it will change. So okay. And then if I look at it again, two thingies, dollar signs, go find 101, and now it's 182. So let's go and look at the camera slider again. Oh, that didn't help. There we go. So let me show you what I was doing again. I'm sorry. So before, yeah, okay, so I did 182. So if I do this again, it's gonna crash and restart. Just kidding. It was probably because I did something I didn't like. Let's just unplug the power and plug it back in. I'm good with that. Alright, so am I connected yet? Alright, it says I'm connected. Let's refresh. Where did it go? Did it not like me? I don't think it liked me. Let's try that again. I think I may have had a loose wire and I moved it around. Maybe it was just the page it didn't like. Yeah, it was Chrome being goofy. Alright, back to what I was doing. So it thinks we're at 0. We'll go to relative positioning. I was attempting to show you the settings. Alright, so I said 101 equal 182, and then the screen went away, and then here we are. I did the question, or 2 money signs, and it brings me to my list, and it's 182 confirmed. Don't move my slider, but I want to move the head 360. Oh, it's moving. Oh, it's just really slow. That's good. It's moving. I wanted to move faster. Negative. Let's see. There we go. I'm used to the number pad. My number pads bind to actions. Move this thing more under the camera. So I have the camera lined up with the tape right there. Set to 360. Is that close enough? Trick is to do a number like, where's that calculator at? So 360. Okay. I need to get one of those things just for that don't interfere with the number pad. So 360, I can hit times, let's say 10 or 5, 1800. So go to 1800 and start. This is going to rotate 5 times. And the reason why I wanted to do it 5 times is because if I rotate 5 times and it doesn't go back over on top of this white line right here, then I know if it's more or less. Like if it's off by 1 step, I can tell. So it needs to go up a little. It's off just a few steps. So money sign 101, 184. Let's try 184. It's probably off 4 steps. Let's say 0, no, 1. Let's see, -10. I'm gonna keep on clicking it until I feel like it's. Oh, I need to go 5. So 1800. Start. This is how you get it precise. You put in a number and then you go from there. And then you rotate 5 times, 10 times, 20 times. You know, it depends on how accurate you want to really get down to that micro step. I only have so much resolution I can really go with since I'm powering it directly in the center of the drive. Like if you put a pulley on here, a small one, and if you put a big pulley on this side and you put a small pulley on the other side, it's gonna drive the other thing that you're driving a lot faster. But if it's a bigger pulley on the drive side, on the other side, and then you have a small pulley on this one, you can make this thing have a wider resolution. So it looks like it went over a couple. And I said 101 equal 183. And then we'll set slider to 1. Because whenever you adjust these settings, it does weird stuff. Alright, set this to 1800. So if I really wanted this thing to be super duper precise, I would want to get a pulley on this side, this big, and the little tiny guy that I had would work. But then it would just bring the ratio from 1 to 10 or something like that, 1 to 5. The little Lazy Susan thing that I have is a 1 to 4 1/4. Still a little over. So maybe I was right. 182. But so far, it's really accurate for what it is. So I can pause it and then I can continue, which is really useful to me. A lot of panoramic heads don't have that, or sliders, or they do and I don't know it because I don't have a fancy one like some people. I think it's off like half step. I wonder if we can do half steps. S101 equal 182.5. Well, let's try that out. Let's see if we can do that. Oh, perfect. Let's try that one more time. Where are you? Good. Alright, so now that that is good, I can say I want to rotate 90 degrees. Oh, you know, let's go the opposite direction. Let's do a negative 180. Let's go back to our starting point. Oh gosh, I'm just spamming it stuff right now. 90, 90, let's do a 360, 360. Another negative 90. And then a negative, then let's do a 90, and then a negative 180. Alright, yeah, now it's just doing stuff. Alright, so this thing's a little wobbly, so I don't expect it to be super duper precise because it looks like it has, let me get it to where it shows. Oh, where's my knife at? I need to mark it so I can see. It has a 35 degree play, 35 degrees, which is okay. I just pointed at it and hit start. Not like that, but more like this. So the whole idea behind this is to have a time lapse. So this is pretty quick for time lapse stuff. So over here is where it was. This is where all the testing was. So I'm gonna set it to. All right. One thing I've learned is that a feed rate of 4 will take about an hour for it to pass 1,000 millimeters. So if I do this and then this will take about an hour. So the feed rate also, I think, applies over the greatest distance. So it would actually cut the speed in half if I was doing 50 and this was 100. And let's say, for fun's sake, everything is at 1,000. My roller. So Maybe I should program this motor right here. To be a 360. Yeah, let me do that. So that way you can see what I mean. So 130. That's alright. That's alright. That can't be it. I don't know when it's going to stop. Let's reset you. Relative positioning. 1-1 start slider. Okay. So 360. Okay, so they're roughly in the same ballpark. So let's change you to 360 as also. It's kind of trippy. Alright, let's go back over to what I really am trying to think about. Why this is confusing. So let's set the distance to this one right here to 180 and this one 360. They're both roughly facing forward. Let's just angle that one. So we'll hit start. See, it's the same speed on this one, but it's half the speed on this one based on the distance. So we can do that again. So let's switch the values. So this one's going to be twice as fast as that one. because this one's only going half the rotation of this one. And that's what I mean about the feed rate. It's going to choose whatever the longest distance is. So if you're only doing 100, so if you're only doing 100 on this guy, a 100 on the distance, which is, you would normally have 1,000 because that's how long my stick or my camera slider is going to be. Sometimes this one may be a full 360. What if you're really doing a 90-degree time lapse? So hit start for a 90 rotation on 100 millimeters, and that's what it does. So let's adjust the feed rate down to 500. Let me line that back up. Does it work better if it's like this? Maybe. I had to get some more coffee. Alright, so let's say you have your slider set up and you want to change the speed or increase the distance. So this would be the distance guy right here. Oh, did I mess up already? So 100. Okay. So we get it to where it's doing the thing that we want. But you change the distance. And what does it do? speeds up. Okay, so actually this was working out. Oh, so it slowed this one down a lot. Which actually I think is exactly what we need for time lapse. A synchronized, repeatable system. And this actually doubles back as a Bluetooth. So you can say, well, what I want to do is have start or save slider or something, or set slider, to where you just have your feed, but every time. Oh, and then probably another slider says capture count, maybe. That way I can just do all the dividing of the of the angles and distance. Whenever I do all the dividing with this capture count, I will be able to emit a Bluetooth signal to the camera or receive one. Haven't really worked that out yet. This one right here originally would emit a Bluetooth capture signal, but it only works on phones, and I want to have it work on anything. So yeah, changing that distance changed the amount of time. And that's the fastest speed that it will go for this guy. So the pause and continue feature. Let's take a break at that. So if it's a really long time lapse and you need to pause it for whatever reason, you can, and then start it right back where it left off. So this is ticking away really slowly. If I go over to pause, it'll pause. Leaves it exactly where it's at. Then I can go back and hit continue, and it will continue where it left off at. I do have a cancel and abort. So if I cancel and abort it, it will lock the motors, or lock the system from getting any code. So you can't, once it's locked, all this stuff up here, you can't do anything. So you would have to unlock it. And how I know this is I'll look at this and it says we're locked. So I'll click on unlock and I'll say caution unlocked. And I always click on, what I need to do is tell this G91 to happen every time that we connect. So that way we're always in relative positioning. Or at least that's what I need to do now until I can get homing working. And I think that's pretty much it for what I can show you with this. There's really nothing I can do besides continue to work on it. I ordered this is actually for a tripod, and my camera slider needed some M6 bolts. Where did this piece go? I have this adapter right here that will go on the bottom. I can attach this to my camera slider, which I can show you real quick. So I'm waiting on M6 bolts for this guy. Once I get the M6 bolts, that will go away. This is an end stop. That tells it when to stop. It's gonna go all the way here to the end. One thing I need to build for this is tripod mount holder for the bottom here. Which I can actually double back, put it on here, so that way I can have a spot for the tripod extra reinforcement. And this is the tensioner side. No mount yet for that tripod, but there'll be a tripod mount. I think about 3 of them maybe. This is a really long tripod mount, or a really long slider. Half the size of me, more than half. But yeah, so let me just pop this right here. Hide this guy. Where you at? And that's how it's going to attach. So that way, I actually have a spacer that allows me to adjust this. So that way I can angle it high, and I can do a forced angle. I really need to cut that wire off. What else? Yep, the camera will mount directly onto here, as flat as possible. Yeah. Can't wait to actually do some time lapse with it. Well, I think that is it for this episode of Brad's Workbench. Enjoy yourself, and have a great YouTube experience. Bye.